Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast to help you as a realtor be a top producer in your desired market, wherever that may be. We also want to help our team leaders and broker friends out there develop more top producers on their teams and in their organizations all throughout the country. We do that in a lot of different ways. You can check us out at topproducersnation.com. Learn more about our online community, our different offers, our different programs, consulting, coaching, training. That's all there on that link. And that way we can work more with you and help you in your journey of being a top producer. We, of course, get to interview the top 500 producing agents here, powered on our local level by the Tampa Bay Real Producers platform and franchise here in beautiful Tampa Bay. That's where we produce our Tampa Bay Real Producers magazine that features the top 500 producing agents in the market. And as part of that magazine, we have what we call our preferred partners that support the platform and honestly make the entire platform possible. Without them, we wouldn't be able to host a lot of the events that we put on, produce the magazine that we produce, and of course, honor the top producing agents here in the market. One of those partners is here today with us in studio, and that's none other than Mr. Harrison Froid. Harrison is a franchise owner with Goosehead Insurance. What's up, Harrison? How you doing?
Doing good, Don. Thanks for having me, man.
No doubt,
Glad to
man.
be here.
It's good to have you here in studio.
Absolutely.
For sure. Excited to dive in a little bit to your story. And so for people who might not know, did you grow up in Tampa Bay? If not, how did you get here and get interested in insurance?
Yeah, so born and raised in St. Pete, actually. So
Nice.
Know the area well. I've seen it grow
A lot
in a
over the
lot
years.
of different ways over the years, but
sure.
super fortunate to be here. Obviously, it's a great area. There's just so much to do.
No doubt.
And just you got Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, so there's a lot to go on and do in terms of like downtowns, but then you have the beaches.
No doubt.
And then also just like we're in a good area too. Like it's not hard to get to North Florida if you want to go north. It's not hard to get to South Florida if you want to go south.
Mm-hmm.
Last weekend I was over at the Kennedy Space Center with one of
I've
my
taken
daughters.
the kids out there before. It's
It's like
it's a neat
a
trip.
little over 2-hour drive, so you can get to the East Coast quickly. So yeah, man, it's a good spot.
No
Glad
doubt.
to be here.
Yeah, I love Florida. I'm not local. I didn't grow up here like you did, but I'm from
Yeah.
Connecticut originally.
Oh,
but,
really?
I dealt with plenty of cold weather up there, and then when I went to University of Tampa, I realized, this is a pretty cool place to be. I'm gonna want to.
Did you go back to Connecticut? Or?
I did. I had a marketing opportunity up there for my
Okay.
business, which got me up there for about 12 years. And then I had every winter said to myself, I got to get back down to Florida at some point.
Yeah.
So we finally came down. We've been here since 2012 now.
Okay.
And doing our thing.
So Connecticut. That's what part of Connecticut?
I grew up Fairfield County,
Okay.
Danbury.
Okay.
Lived in Ridgefield for 7 years before we came down here, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
asked. So I got one of my like good college friends is from Connecticut.
Nice.
He's like outside of Hartford.
Yeah,
So I've been up there a couple times.
yeah. That's the insurance capital of the world.
Yeah, I
in
know.
your industry, that's the place to be.
Exactly. So I'm familiar with Connecticut. But,
There you go.
But yeah, man.
All the big buildings in Hartford are all about insurance. Man.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
yeah,
what
I think
runs.
Travelers, Hartford. There's a handful of others,
No
but
doubt.
it is funny.
It runs
You're
the
right.
roost. It runs the roost up there.
Yeah, for sure.
So has insurance always been a passion of yours, Harrison, since a little boy, or?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have a joke like in the insurance industry that no one plans to get into it. You just kind of fall into it one way or the other.
Sure.
But it's kind of like the mafia. Like once you get in, it's hard to get out of. So I've been in it ever since. It's been a great career, but definitely not something that was like top of the radar,
I get it.
in terms of careers, but it's been good.
It's funny. I have insurance and somewhat in my blood. My dad was an insurance professional,
Okay.
life insurance mostly.
Oh, nice.
But he worked for Prudential for many years, and then he actually used to win this thing called the $1 Million Round Table.
Oh, yeah.
Which was held in Orlando.
Nice.
So I remember flying down from Connecticut in the cold to come to Orlando, Disney World, and everything as part of his conferences.
Really cool.
Back in the day, and he worked for MetLife as well. For a couple of years,
Yeah.
but I know life insurance isn't your main focus
Right.
with what you guys are all about. But tell me, like, when did you get started with insurance? What drew you in initially?
Yeah, so so my wife and I, like I said, we're both from St. Pete. We we're high school sweethearts, so we went to high school
Nice.
together, college, and I got married my junior year of college. She's smarter than me. She graduated a year early, so I was reaching that point where like kind of during that process of junior year being married, like working odd jobs, like whatever I could to try to contribute. But then my senior year, I took like an elective class for college. It was like resume building or something like that. It was just like an extra credit class.
Yep.
And the professor would send out job openings. So sometimes they were big nationwide type opportunities with different companies. Sometimes they were more local opportunities. But she sent something out one day for a local insurance agency that was hiring.
Okay.
And like I said, I knew that I was going to be graduating. We were living in Lakeland at the time, and it was for commercial insurance. And I was like, kind of being a business guy, I knew I was going to do something in business, but I was like, okay, insurance. I know you can make good money. I know heard it's a decent career. And I was like, commercial insurance sounds cool because you have businesses, they need insurance. I never even had thought about that.
Yeah.
And so that was how I got started. And I mean, I took a job basically, I would say it was like a step above the mailroom. Like,
Okay.
wasn't making
So
a
not
ton
quite
of
sales yet, huh?
No, it wasn't
Okay.
sales, but it was a great way just to kind of learn the ins and outs of the business.
Were you
and
like
the
writing
industry.
policy and stuff?
No, like
Oh.
it was, so the job was when if someone would sell an account
Yeah.
for like a commercial, like for a business,
Yeah.
and then these businesses, they would fill out an application,
Mm-hmm.
and then once the policy was bound, the binder and the policy would come in. My job was to kind of like check and make sure that everything that was on the policy was on the application.
Gotcha.
Which is
Due
funny.
diligence.
Due diligence, which is funny because I didn't really know anything about insurance, but they helped me get my license. They taught me how to do it, and so that was really how I got started.
Nice.
And I did it for a little bit before I realized I was like, okay, I kind of, it didn't really quite meet my expectations in terms of what I wanted to do in life, right? I wanted to be able to, I think, make a little bit more money and stuff, but that was how I got started, and I've been in it ever since, and done customer service, sales,
how
underwriting.
many different firms have you been with? I know we own Goosehead now as a franchise. Did you have multiple steps along the way to get to Goosehead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that. So I started in 2013. That was my first job in the insurance business, the one I just told you about. Was there for about 2 years. Did different things within the agency at that time. And then we ended up moving back to St. Pete in 2015.
Okay.
And I took a job at, it was a startup. It was just a handful of people. And was there from 2015 to 2020 and did various roles, customer service, sales, underwriting, kind of helped that company grow. And it was an awesome experience, really cool being a part of something that was just like brand new and growing.
Yeah.
And then came across the opportunity with Goosehead and owning an agency, and opened up the agency in 2020 and have been doing it ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, how many franchises are there with Goosehead?
So I don't know the exact number, but they have thousands of agents across the country.
They do.
So
Okay.
they have, West Coast, East Coast. There's maybe under 100 here in Florida.
Okay.
There's a good amount of agencies in Florida.
Yeah.
That have, decent sized teams.
Yep.
But
do you have
we're
like a
across the country.
territory that is protected? Is the business model, or is there multiple Goosehead people even within, say, your St. Pete area?
Yeah. So there's, I think they try to make it to where there is like, we're not like all right on top of each other. But I know there's some in Tampa. I don't think there's one in St. Pete. There might be one in North Pinellas.
Okay.
And then just spread out, across the state.
Got it. Because I know with insurance, like you can
Yep.
write policy anywhere in
For
Florida,
sure.
right?
Absolutely.
Your license is the whole state.
Yep.
And then do you also work outside of Florida?
So we're just licensed in Florida,
Okay.
but like you said, we write wherever the leads come from. As long as it's in the state of Florida, we can write it. So
True.
we have referral partners that they don't necessarily live in the Tampa Bay area, or we have referral partners that do live within the Tampa Bay area, but they have clients that are buying a house maybe in Orlando or
Right.
North Florida or South Florida. So we do. It's kind of cool when you pull up our accounts and look at them. There's a lot that are obviously in the Tampa, St. Pete area, but the different cities right throughout Florida, like we have a lot of accounts. So just wherever the leads come from, as long as it's in Florida, we can do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do
Yep.
you find that culture-wise with Goosehead, do you guys collaborate at all with other franchise owners as well? Do you guys share best practices and talk
Yep.
about your businesses, or is it more isolated?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I have a group. I'm in a group chat with some of the top agents in the state of Florida, and we're constantly, like talking back and forth,
Cool. Yeah.
helping each other out. So there's definitely like a good vibe. Like we try to, get along and help each other out. There's so much business out there.
Totally.
So I think just having the right, like as long as you have that mindset, and it really is true. In our business, anyone who lives somewhere or drives something is a potential client.
Totally.
So if you're operating from the mindset that there's more than enough business out there, obviously it provides opportunities to collaborate and have a good relationship with other agencies.
Yeah, I agree. I always find it fascinating, like the culture of certain franchises, because there's some really good ones and then there's
For
some pretty bad ones as well.
Yeah.
We're also a franchise.
Right.
Real Producers is 125 markets nationally.
Yeah.
And we collaborate a lot. So I've always enjoyed our culture with the Real Producer franchise model, where we talk about best practices. We meet for conferences. We have calls, like you said, group chats, all that kind of stuff, just to kind of share some things that are working and things that we're doing, new event ideas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and I also know that there's some franchise models where it's like they have no communication,
Yeah.
and it's almost like no support is encouraged or given. So I just find it fascinating to hear different business models that are out there. It's one of the fun things of doing this show, I guess.
Yeah,
is you
no,
get to
for
learn
sure.
that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, just being in the business, like you are correct. Like there's some, it's pretty cutthroat. And so I think that's one thing that's cool about Goosehead is that from my experience, that hasn't been the case at all.
Totally.
So it's been pretty cool.
So obviously, as a partner with Real Producers, you're leaning into building relationships with agents and top producers, ideally in the market.
Yeah.
Has that always been a big part of your intention and focus? And you got into the insurance game, was like building these relationships with agents. Has that happened always organically, or were there things that kind of happened that were more intentional over time?
No, I mean it was intentional from the very beginning. So that's kind of that's been our model, is focus on like the real estate transaction. So getting connected with lenders, realtors. They have clients that ultimately like they're going to need, like they need home insurance, right?
Totally.
You know what I mean? If there's a mortgage involved, they're going to need a home insurance policy. So if they're going to get it from someone, why not get it from us?
Sure.
And then even if they have clients that are paying cash, maybe there's not a mortgage. Like most people don't want to spend all that money and buy a house and then not protect it. You know what I mean? From fire, or hurricane, or even liability. Like there's just so many different things that can go on.
Yep.
So that's been a focus from day one, marketing wise, is just getting connected with good lenders, good realtors, finding good referral partners.
And what has worked best for you to do that? Are you generally like lunch and learn campaigns and reaching out to offices, or how have you gone about that over the years?
Yeah, I mean, all of it, to be honest. So it was interesting. So we opened up in June of 2020. So right in the middle of, I mean, it was very beginning of COVID, right? And thankfully we were in Florida where it was definitely, things were a little bit more business friendly for sure.
Yeah.
But being that close to the start of the pandemic, like it was very virtual. So it was, no one was in the office. So in the beginning, it was very much like just picking up the phone and like cold calling people, hoping that they answer, hoping you can, provide a good pitch within 30 seconds and get their attention.
Yep.
Trying to leverage social media, right? Following a lot of time that was, people had to pivot. So people were posting
it was an
content.
Interesting time for a lot of business owners.
For sure. So people were posting content on social media. So trying to do that, liking their comments, commenting on it, just trying to do things to stay in front of them.
Totally.
And then as things have opened back up, definitely, trying to, hey, like, let's grab coffee. Let's deepen that relationship. Let's do a lunch and learn. Let's host a happy hour, just different things. So we've kind of done it all. But in the beginning, like it was very much, honestly, just like cold calling.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Ideally, do you want to build these relationships with individual agents or brokers, team leaders, where you can come in and maybe present to the team during a team meeting? Do you have a preference either way?
Not really. I mean, I think we have like a mixed bag, to be honest. Like we have some where we have a really strong relationship with the entire agency. But from my experience, what I've found is that a lot of agents, even though they're within an office, they have their own relationships too.
Sure.
So you may have an agency that has a couple top producers, but those top producers
are all using
they use
people.
they may use different people. So try to get in the door with one, and then usually if you do a good job, word can spread.
Yep.
Or use that as an opportunity to call the other person and say, hey, I've been able to work with so-and-so. They've enjoyed working with me. I just wanted to reach out, introduce myself. If you ever need anything, let me know. And so trying to like leverage that. But it's kind of a mixed bag. Obviously we love to work with everyone, but it's just kind of depends on the situation.
It's all about relationships,
for
man.
sure.
That's the way 100%. It works. We know that. That's obviously what our whole business is built on, is trying to figure out ways to have deeper relationships, meaningful relationships happen.
Yeah.
Providing initial, touch points, and then utilizing that to build on and have something that actually gets sticky, right?
Yeah,
that's really the whole point of every partner that we have. And so obviously we're excited to have you as a partner and provide more of those opportunities for you.
Likewise. No, it's been awesome.
So when you think about just your industry in general, is there anything that you feel like is relevant right now that agents should be aware of? Maybe something that you're seeing that's happening in the market? What are you kind of talking to agents about currently?
For sure. So, I mean, I would say right now, the insurance market it's totally different than what it was a couple years ago, right? So, for example, like 2020, when I got started, I kind of joked that like I got on an airplane that was like free falling from the sky heading towards the ground, right? Carriers, they were going out of business. They were pulling out of Florida. They weren't wanting to write business. And so there's been some changes.
Was that COVID related or storm related, or both?
I think that and just there was a lot of I think just like frivolous claims too. I think it was a combination, honestly, of all of it, right? It was like
Mm-hmm.
the perfect storm. I don't think so much COVID. I mean, maybe that played a part in some ways, but it
Yeah.
was really, we had gone through a patch where we had a couple big storms that hit Florida.
Right.
And then we had just a lot of people that just were abusing the system,
Mm-hmm.
filing frivolous claims. And, um, I think a lot of people just were thinking of insurance as like a lottery ticket
Yeah.
and just filing claims. And it just overwhelmed the system.
Yep.
And companies were losing money and they just didn't want to write business here. They were going out of business. They were losing money. So that was kind of how it's been the last couple of years. But now there's been some changes and things that have been implemented. We went last year without a hurricane, and companies are coming back into the market.
Yeah.
So new carriers are opening back up. Companies are competing for business. They are wanting to grow. So the market is good. So that's the message that we're telling people, is that like overall the market is definitely improving.
Mm.
But with that definitely does come some challenges, because the last couple of years, it was pretty much, if you were buying a house, it would almost always go to Citizens, right? And Citizens, they had decent rates and they would almost take anything as long as the 4-point was clean.
Mm-hmm.
But now that companies are opening back up, every company kind of has their own unique
Guidelines.
thing. Yeah, their own guidelines, right? So if a house has a flat roof over a living space, they may not want to insure that, right? Or if a company has a certain electrical panel, they may not want to take that. Or if the home is a certain age, they may not want to take it. Or if the roof is a certain age, they may not want to take it. So it's just been a little bit more challenging now. Like, okay, we really got to make sure when we're running through stuff, like we're putting them with the right carrier and paying attention to the underwriting guidelines. Whereas before it was kind of like, all right, the 4-point's clean, Citizens will do it. The Citizens rate is good. You didn't have to, I don't want to say you didn't have to be as careful, because you did, but it's just now there's more companies in and they all have their own nuanced things that they want us agents to keep an eye out on.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And what did I jot down here? Oh yeah. With Goosehead.
Yep.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, your role over there is like a broker type role,
100%.
right? So you have a bunch of different carriers that you could bring to the table, where somebody who's working with you guys can have confidence that you're going to basically be shopping rates and seeing what the best options are. Are you limited in any way to the amount of carriers that you have, or is that always expanding?
No, yeah. I mean, it's always expanding. I mean, like I said, even just this year, we've added a number of new carriers to our portfolio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I tell people, I'm like, I work for you, not the insurance company.
Sure.
Right. So in the insurance space, you have like captive agencies and then you have independent agencies. So the captive ones, I'm sure there's a lot of good agents out there, but if you call them, they're going to quote you just one company,
because they're limited to their own company, right?
Because they're loyal to that carrier.
Right.
Whereas if you reach out to us, we got 50 different, home insurance carriers that we work with. We have over 20 different auto insurance carriers that we work with. So I'm looking out for your best interest. So I'm going to get your info, shop the market, see who's the best option, and then present that to you, as opposed to just having that one.
How many carriers do you guys work with now?
I mean, honestly, like if you add up all of them between home, auto, flood, umbrella, and everything, I mean, it's well over 100.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, home insurance probably have 50 different carriers. Auto, we have over 20. Flood insurance, maybe 20 different carriers. We write through like FEMA directly, like the government-backed policies. We have a lot of private flood companies as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different carriers that we work with.
So you mentioned earlier that we had no big storm last year, thank God. And that obviously it seemed like it made an impact in your industry and have more companies coming in. How much does that affect things? So let's say we did have a bigger storm, this year. Is it that volatile where it's like one big storm comes through and you see a bunch of companies that just bail out because of that? Is that kind of the story? And then another good season and then more companies flood? Is it really volatile year to year?
Honestly, like not really, like not as bad as people would think. Like I think that most insurance companies, like if you're gonna open up an insurance company in the state of Florida, you have to
You should expect storms, right?
You should expect storms. So they are usually, I mean, every year they're prepared to handle, a couple major hurricanes, right? So I guess if you have like a very above average hurricane season, then yeah, I mean, that can definitely stress the market, but most of these companies are prepared to do that. Yeah. But where it, again, like in the past where it got tricky was just, there was lots of major storms, but then there was just a lot of inflated claims from litigation and just other things that just kind of like overrun the market. And so, there's definitely some carriers are better than others, right? There's no doubt.
For sure.
So, but a lot of the good like we only work with A-rated companies. And so a lot of the companies that we work with, I mean, they've been in Florida for a long time, right? So they've been doing this for, you know, we have one that's been around for 50 years,
Yeah,
30
that's
years,
important,
20
having that
years.
track record, right?
So they've weathered lots of storms,
Yeah.
right? So a major hurricane shouldn't sink the ship,
Totally.
you know?
Yeah. That's why they have the big buildings in Hartford, Connecticut.
Yeah,
man.
that,
I
and
get
then they have reinsurance, right? So that's like a big thing here in Florida, and that's like, you know, a lot of people don't realize that, but because Florida is such a unique state, right? Like we have hurricanes, we have a lot of people here, we have a lot going on. These insurance companies, they buy insurance for themselves because they aren't some of those big box names, right, that you think of when you think maybe of auto insurance. But for home insurance, they're usually smaller regional carriers, and they're buying insurance for themselves. So, you know, for every dollar that comes in, they may spend 50 cents on reinsurance.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that way, if it hits a certain point, they can kind of hedge their bets.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But that's an expense to them. So if,
right,
you know,
and a buffer for protection.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they, you know, are able to operate here in Florida.
And then who is backing that reinsurance policy?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I mean, that's just huge. Like you talk about like, you know, the 1% of money in the world or whatever. I mean, just big, huge companies, like just big global companies that all contribute to reinsurance.
Yeah.
And kind of help make the world go round.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that was the business model, but that does make sense for sure. You hear a lot, I feel like, about the challenges, at least I hear from agents sometimes, about the challenges of like flood insurance and the certain areas that, you know, it's crazy priced or you can't even get it or whatever. What is your opinion from that perspective? Is that the one piece that is the most challenging that you deal with in the insurance world or not really?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. I think, like I said, going back the last couple of years, I mean, home insurance in some ways has been harder than flood. You know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, every property can get a flood quote.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter. You may not like the price, but every single property in the state of Florida, like if you say, hey, can I get a flood quote? I'm able to provide one to you. Home insurance, though, you know, you have a lot more.
There were some that wasn't even available.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, you can get the flood insurance.
Some of them are going to be crazy priced, right?
Some of them could be more expensive. Yeah. And so I think what we've seen challenges is that there's been some changes. Like a lot of the homes that are closer to the beach, for example, they would more so go through like the government. They'd have like the FEMA-backed national flood insurance program policies. And those used to just kind of have a flat rate. So they were super affordable. And they've kind of like readjusted that to where now those premiums are a lot more expensive. And so people now are having to go to the private market.
Gotcha.
And there's just been with some of those changes, you know, they're working out kinks. Like it used to be, you know, if you had an elevated house that was on the beach, you know, you could probably get a policy for $500 or $600 a year.
Yeah.
Now, if a new buyer is trying to go get a policy, I mean, it could be a couple grand, and it's just like it doesn't really make sense because it's like that home's probably never going to flood. So why is it so expensive? So hopefully over time they kind of figure that out, but
and it's just not even based on the factors like that if it's elevated versus just the location.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it's close to the water.
Yeah,
they lump it in with somebody else.
They account for it, but it's just some of the pricing on some. It just doesn't make sense, right? And so a lot of those homes that are elevated, you know, they could be nicer homes. People could have money, and they see the price, and they're like, "Well, my house is never going to flood."
Yeah,
they own it outright. Maybe they go without insurance.
Right.
So they just don't carry it. Whereas before, you know, they'd be like, okay, $500 or $1,000. That seems reasonable, right? To protect my house from flooding, I'll pay for it.
Right.
That money kind of goes in the bucket to help spread out the risk.
Right.
So I think there's some work.
It's always a balance of investment and risk and what you think makes the most sense.
Yep.
So I get that. What does your team look like now? What's the infrastructure of the organization?
Yeah. So right now, it's myself as the owner. My wife also owns the agency with me. She kind of jumped in with me.
She's the smart one.
In the beginning, she's the smart one. So she was definitely in the trenches, you know, slinging policies with me.
Nice.
Now she's a little bit more. She's behind the scenes, handles payroll, taxes, does a lot more managing the home front.
Yeah.
But she's definitely like a business partner. You know, like all the time, like I'm coming to her, talking to her about stuff.
That's great.
In terms of like how to grow.
You guys
the business.
like working together? Or do you find it challenging?
Yeah, no, it's been good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, you know, there's had moments, right, challenging, but I think it's been helpful. Like obviously being together so long, like naturally, like you know, got a strong relationship. So
yeah, no doubt.
The founder of Goosehead, I mean, he's like a billionaire now. He's done well, and him and his wife, they started it, they owned it, so it works. You know, it definitely works. There's a lot of people out there.
Is it public now, or is it still private?
So
company?
it is public, but
Okay.
you know, they're still the majority owners of it. So it's like if it works for them,
not bad.
Work for us. So it's so me, so Brittany, and then now we have a team of like 6 agents.
Okay.
That are also part of the team. So we're
and they're local. They're all St. Pete based.
All local, yeah.
Okay.
All here. Yeah, I mean, we have some that live in Tampa.
Yeah.
But our office is in St. Pete, right by Gandy Bridge. So we're nothing to get over to Tampa, nothing to get downtown St. Pete, Clearwater. So we're pretty centrally located.
Hey guys, just a quick second here. If you're an agent who knows that you want to be featured as a top producer here on the podcast and would love some support in helping you grow your business so that you can be a top producer in your desired market, you can see what resources and programs we have in store to help you at topproducersnation.com. That is where you'll be invited to register for a webinar and where you can get access to the different programs and courses and different opportunities that we have in store for you at topproducersnation.com. You can also join our online community by going to join.topproducersnation.com to be able to join our online community and learn more about being a top producer. If you are a broker or a team leader who would like help in producing more top producers on your team, we invite you to do the same thing. Our programs are made specifically to help you as well grow your teams. Let's get back to this episode.
Where's your vision take you in terms of how you see this evolving? Is it growing the number of agents? Do you want to involve other geographic areas, or does it make sense to have physical locations in other places? What is your vision take you?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's the fun part about it, right? Is that like insurance is so big, and really with anything, right? When you reach a certain point where you can really start thinking about scaling, like that is fun to think about. I think right now we're definitely focused on our area and growing. Like getting our agents that we have now, continuing to get them established and building their book of business, and then just to continue to grow it out. And then I think, I mean, at a certain point, definitely open to, open up another office, maybe in a different part of Florida, maybe a different state. You know, I don't think we're quite there yet, but definitely like something that like we'll be thinking about when the time comes. But right now it's just
that's cool.
Continuing to get the team built out and up and running, and you know, helping our referral partners.
How much of your time would you say, Harrison, is invested on like serving, you know, policy, writing policy, making sure that everything going smooth on that front compared to like managing your people and developing them and making sure that they're hitting their goals? And where's most of your energy invested?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, I mean, that's where I'm at, right in the trenches with that. Because, you know, when you're getting started, it's just you, you know, so you got to be a good agent, become a good agent. And then you start bringing on people, and then that kind of shifts more to being a manager. Yeah. Being a manager and being an agent are two very, very different things.
Totally.
So right now I would say, I mean, it's kind of split. Like I still have a few like key referral partners that I work with, you know, and I handle stuff with. And then the rest of the time though is, you know, just developing the team. So it's kind of split. So in some ways it's like I'm doing more than what I was, you know, before. Yeah. With the hopes though of obviously just trying to like duplicate myself and definitely transition into being more of just like a manager and making sure that the team is getting ramped up.
That's cool. And so it sounds like the business model that you have allows you to kind of have that scalability, right? Where you can continually growing, continue add agents in really any market potentially in Florida. Yeah. And, you know, Goosehead, I guess, provides a framework where they can support that and have that grow where, you know, you're going to be taken care of and your people can still be taken care of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. No, and I mean, so that's, you know, they definitely, they provide a lot of support.
That's great.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like we're, you know, an individually owned, you know, company, right? So it's just, we're under the Goosehead umbrella. So it's up to us, obviously, to make sure that like we bring someone in, you know, taking the time to do one-on-ones, teaching them the different carriers, teaching them best practices. Yeah. You know, holding them accountable to what their goals are. So those are all the things that ultimately is on us to do, but definitely something that like we prioritize, and it's super important. I think, you know, again, not just for insurance, but I think any team that you're running, like you have to have those things in place.
Lines of communication. Yeah.
For sure. You know, because it's tough, especially if someone's brand new to the industry, right? They don't know what they're doing. Like they need that guidance. Yeah. They need to see the success
onboarding and training are critical. I don't care what industry that you're
Absolutely.
in. And we work a lot with team leaders and brokers
Yeah.
within the real estate world, and that's a big part of actually some things that we even try to help them with at times. So I was just talking with Rob. We have created some offers to kind of work with team leaders.
That's cool.
To help them just create more productivity out of their organizations, create more recruiting opportunities. Overall, just more productivity, right?
Yeah.
And performance, I would say, overall
That's
team
cool.
performance. Because I think, to me, I find that stuff fascinating. That's what I did for years with I was telling you I had a marketing opportunity up north. I used to sell Cutco knives. So my whole business model, though, was on recruiting and development of my people.
That's cool.
We had about 50-something offices at our peak in Connecticut and Rhode Island area.
Okay.
So I love that stuff. I love the development angle, the conversations, trying to help people hit their goals. It just, to me, that's what makes business fun.
It is rewarding. Yeah. And I think there's not, I mean, I think that's lacking, you know, to be honest. Like, I think there's a lot of people that they crave that, they want that, but, you know, unfortunately don't get it.
And it is a skill set thing. Sometimes there's the
100%.
development needed to
For sure.
figure it out, because it could be frustrating for sure
Absolutely.
at times to not, you know, why aren't they doing what I'm just telling them to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's an art to figuring out how to make sure that you're communicating things in a way that actually are leading people to come up with their own answers.
For sure.
But are still going to allow them to fail so that they can learn from those lessons.
100%. Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
a prospect, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting to see that you're on that journey too with
for sure, man.
scalability. Because I think when you figure that out, that's when business gets really fun and exciting, because you can truly do a lot more with a team than you can ever do with one person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No doubt. No
Go
doubt.
farther together for sure. Absolutely.
So on the personal side, for people to get to know you just a little bit as we start wrapping up here with our time, I don't want to hold you here too long.
No, you're good.
So we already talked a little bit about your beautiful wife and how you guys met, and what do you guys love to do for fun when you're not just writing policy?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, definitely the home front, like family time, super important to us.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's literally just on the weekend, you know, we have like a pool in the backyard, you know, hopping in there, enjoying the sun.
You guys live in St. Pete?
We do.
Okay.
Yep. And then traveling, we enjoy traveling. So going different places.
Kids yet?
Yeah, no. So we have two. So we have two girls. Got
Nice.
a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And then we got a boy on the way. She's actually due in May, so
Nice.
right around the corner.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
yeah, man. Thank you.
That's exciting.
So,
Your first boy, huh?
first boy. Yeah.
You wanted to keep the Freud name alive, or what?
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. We joked, like, we thought for a while we were done, good with the 2, but then it was kind of like, wanted the boy, but then it's like, well, if I go for the boy and don't get it,
Might
then I
get
got
another
3
girl
girls.
in the family, right?
So yeah, man, we're definitely blessed and fortunate and excited
That's awesome.
for the boy.
We got lucky with that. We had our daughter first, and then we had a son right after. We have 6 kids now, so our family has
6.
grown exponentially. But 4 girls and 2 boys.
Okay.
But we had the one, right back to back there. So it was pretty early when we thought at least we have one of each.
Yeah.
And we felt pretty satisfied. And then God just kept blessing us with more after
That's
that.
cool.
So yeah, we've grown the family from there. But
quite
I
literally
grew up as
have-
an only child, so I didn't know
No
what
way.
it was like to have a
Me
bigger
too.
family.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Same with me. So I always wanted to have a bigger family.
Yeah.
I
for
didn't
sure.
know it would be this big, but
Right.
that's the way it's worked out.
That's
so
funny.
It's all good.
That's funny. Yeah, I was talking to someone recently, and they had a theory, like, on only people that were only childs, that all of them have like at least 2 to 3 kids or more.
Most. Yeah.
So it's pretty
It
interesting.
makes sense. And then a lot of people who come from bigger families do the exact opposite.
Yeah, exact opposite. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the way of the world, I
that
guess
is
you
funny.
can say.
100%.
I got a couple of rapid fire questions for
Okay,
you.
sure.
One related to personal growth. So do
Yeah.
you have any books or authors or seminars that you've ever attended that you feel like have really made a big impact on you, personally or professionally?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say, all of the above, honestly. You know, books. I enjoy reading books. That I was terrible, like, in school, like, growing up. Like, I hated school. I think I graduated with maybe like a C. Like, if you were to take first grade through college, it's maybe like a C, not like a C plus, but maybe like a C, right? And that kind of got balanced out by the years where I was like, all right, I got to figure it out. And so I'd have moments
You know, a
where,
lot
like,
of
I would
successful
do.
entrepreneurs say the same thing.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
do good in school, and that kind of bring it up. But after I graduated, I, on YouTube, stumbled on, like, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, like, audiobook, and
Sure.
listened to it for free, which I know is, like, in real estate what a lot of people,
Yeah, that's
it's like one of
101.
their favorite books.
Totally.
But it just made so much sense to me, and then that kind of, like, created that desire for, like, personal development. So I'm always listening to podcasts, audiobooks. I have attended, you know, even like within Goosehead, they usually have conferences every year.
That's cool.
That you can attend and kind of learn.
They
and
bring in
grow.
big speakers occasionally.
Yeah, or top
Just
producers,
top
like
people
within
within
Goosehead.
Goosehead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know
Yeah.
what I mean, best practices in
Yeah.
that regard. So yeah, I mean, I'm always, looking for
Cool.
different ways to learn and grow. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
For
what
sure.
Tony Robbins preaches, is the idea of modeling the most successful people in your industry, right? I've gone to some of his events over the years,
Really?
and he's very powerful, very impactful, but he preaches that principle regularly of modeling is the quickest way, figuring out who is crushing it in my line of work and what exactly are they doing. And if you
Yeah.
model success, you're going to follow the same path,
So true.
So,
So true.
whether that's insurance or real estate or you name it,
Absolutely.
it all works the same way. So I'm a big believer in that for sure. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
TV show The Office.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I love it, man. That's
Yeah, we connect
definitely-
on that for sure. I'm
Yeah.
an Office fan myself.
Yeah, but outside of that, man, I mean, I watch sports. Like I enjoy sports, but I don't really watch much TV. It's not that I don't like it. I mean, the number of shows that I've started and not finished is, I mean, it's insane. You look at my Netflix, it's like I get busy or lose interest or whatever the case may be. So
Totally.
I don't watch a ton of TV, but I love The Office.
What's your favorite sports team?
So I'm a big Gator football fan.
Okay.
And basketball, they got crushed there in the tournament, broke my heart.
Where's the boo button?
They did win last year. I mean, you can't win every year. I'm from Connecticut, as I said, so I'm a big UConn guy.
Yeah, so is my buddy, that one I was telling you about.
Yeah.
He's a huge UConn fan, so we were hoping for the rematch again this year. We
Yeah.
bounced them last year.
They did. That was a good game. I remember that game last year, thinking if we could just get by Florida, I think we could make a run.
Yeah, I was
But we
hoping for
couldn't
the
get by
same
'em.
thing. I wanted to see the Florida UConn matchup. I wanted to bounce you guys again, but so yeah, no. But I enjoy Gator football,
I'm
Gator
assuming
basketball.
you saw that UConn Duke game. That was some finish.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, that was a great
crazy.
game. That was
Yeah,
crazy.
That was wild.
That game was nuts. That was definitely, I mean, the best game of the tournament for sure.
I've
So.
watched UConn basketball since they won their first title back in '99, even before that. And that was probably the craziest game I've ever seen them win in a
Yeah,
tournament.
no, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, like I said,
That
I'm
was
not
special.
a huge UConn fan, but
Sure.
you got to respect it. So
They were losing the entire game. For them to literally the only time they had a lead was with 0.3 seconds left.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That was
imagine that
nuts.
guy, man, who hit that shot. I mean, that's like
Yeah, and he's a freshman
never
too.
forget that. Oh, is he
He's
really?
a freshman.
Is that the
yeah.
game that's become a meme where like the camera guy like focuses on his mom and his
Yeah,
mom
that's
is
the
like,
one. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the game.
okay,
Yeah.
They were down by 19 points in the first half and just
Yeah.
really getting dominated. And then they just kept chipping away. The whole second half, the lead just kept, it was just back and forth a lot, but it went from like, they were down by 15 at halftime. And then they were like down by 12 for 3 or 4 minutes, then down by 9 for 3 or 4 minutes, then down by 7 for another 3 or 4
just
minutes.
chipping
and
away,
they just
man.
kept chipping away at it
Chipping
until
away.
they literally stole the ball with less than a minute left or less than a second left, hit this crazy 3-point shot, and
Yeah.
now they're up by 1 point.
Not only that, man, but like I mean, your guys' is like free throw or the 3-point percentage was terrible.
Oh,
that
they were
game.
0 for 18.
Yeah, so it's like
No, 1 for 18. They were 1 for 18, and then they made their last 4 out of 5.
yeah,
It was
and then
insane.
hit that one to win
Yeah.
the game. So it's pretty crazy.
It was
a
crazy.
wild
Yeah,
game.
that
for
dude's
sure.
a freshman that made it, and he's actually been a baller all year. Most likely going to declare for the draft, I think, actually, which I wish he stayed because I think he can get better and get bigger, but I think he's going to declare anyway. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
They still can make a run in the Final Four, so
Yeah,
I'm
man.
still rooting for him.
We'll
We'll see if they can pull out 3 championships in 4 years isn't half bad. So
That's not bad. Yeah, not bad.
no doubt.
Respect.
So we got a lot in common. I'm sure we can have a whole other podcast just on sports.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think so. I'm
absolutely,
a huge
for sure.
baseball guy. Baseball, football, and basketball are my
Yeah.
3 kind of cores. But I would say baseball is my heart for sure. I played
For sure.
baseball growing up, and that's where most
Cool.
of my kids are really into baseball now
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
I get that. You ever go to the Lightning games like hockey?
yeah. I've been to a few.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I
Yeah.
do like going to Lightning games. It's fun there.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm the same way.
The fan base is pretty intense.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like it's not like I'm a huge hockey buff in terms of following it.
Yeah.
But the games are super fun. So
They are. Yeah, it's a
enjoy
cool
going to those.
environment.
Yeah,
when I went to
absolutely. They do
UT
it
for
right.
college, that's what drew me down here.
Yep.
And I was dating a girl at the time who had a connection over at the Lightning Stadium, so she was
Okay.
able to get us tickets pretty cheap, and we
Yeah.
sit in like I don't even know if they still have them, but they used to have these leather executive chair like sofas
Oh,
that
wow.
were in the it wasn't a box, but it was like in the middle of a row. There would just be like a leather sofa, and you'd have to have a ticket for it. But we used to always sit there and be able to just watch the game
That's cool.
from these sofas.
Yeah.
So it was pretty neat. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. So we'll put a bow on the episode with what I call our legacy question, Harrison. We
Okay.
talked a little bit about building and scaling your organization, which I think
sure.
is an exciting opportunity for you for years to come. But when you think about, hopefully many years from now, you're a young guy, you got a young family, and one day you'll hopefully sit on that rocking chair and think back to what would be most important to you, and what type of legacy you would be most proud of leaving, right? So what are some thoughts that come to mind when you think about what type of legacy you'd want to leave?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
personally or professionally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say like, personally, just honestly being remembered as a good husband, good dad, good friend. Like that's honestly it. Like that's pretty simple for me when it comes to that. Obviously, I mean, in business, I want to continue to grow it. I got young kids. Who knows, one day, like if they have an interest in insurance, maybe they'll get into it. So that's kind of cool to think about. But obviously, they'll kind of choose their own path. But at the end of the day, those three things I just said are definitely like most important to me.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you got a bright future, man, with what you're doing with Goosehead, and things are going in the right direction. I'm glad that you're a partner and that we can hopefully help you along the way and getting the right connections and building this thing. And as we, like I said, build out some of our team builder offers, maybe there's some principles there that also could apply to you and what you're trying to build. So we'll have to talk more about that too as time shakes out. But we'll end with this. If anybody wants to pick your brain a little bit more about just insurance policy, they want to get somebody in their corner who they think they can connect with, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say email, honestly, is great. So you can reach me at harrison.freud@goosehead.com, or you can give our office line a call, which is at 727-914-9775. I'm sure that'll get posted somewhere. But those are really the two best ways to reach out, and then happy to help in any way that we can.
Very cool. And that's Freud, F-R-O-I-D. And then check it out. We'll have that in the description as well, of course. So we always end the episode with a call to action and a challenge to the audience. So if you're watching live on the live stream right now, or if you're listening in on any of the podcast platforms that we distribute on, Apple and Spotify being probably the two biggest, ultimately, these types of episodes are designed to help you take action in a specific way that could help propel your business or yourself personally forward and see growth from listening to the show. So if you took the 40 minutes or so to listen to this episode, do something after this conversation that actually locks in the value so that you can propel things forward. Maybe it's even just checking out Rich Dad Poor Dad that Harrison talked about as a potential resource for you, and going down that path. Or maybe you have to actually get an insurance partner in your corner that you can trust and build a relationship with. Reaching out to Harrison and his team, we vouch for them for sure, would give you the opportunity to have them come in if you're a broker or a team leader and you want them to meet your team. If you're an individual agent and you just want to have another great option on your team, then I would highly recommend, connecting with somebody like Harrison who knows what he's doing. Maybe there's something else that we talked about today with in terms of the insurance world, or something you've had questions about that you just want to get some clarity on, or maybe you're even somebody who might want to get into insurance, right, as an industry, and you can talk to someone who I know is growing his team, like Harrison, to be able to see if it's a good fit, right, for you, and learning more about how to be able to get involved in the industry. But take action in some way so you lock in some value on what we talked about today. You might even just want to subscribe to our podcast by clicking the button below. That way you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode, which is weekly with the Top Producers Nation podcast. So follow us, of course, at topproducersnation.com. Subscribe to the show, and we will see you on the next episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. See you later.